leave for press statements or press cuttings to be presented in this House or to be tabled. So we call now on Government Order of the Day number 1.
Environment Canterbury Temporary Commissioners and Improved Water Management Amendment Bill, first reading.
Mr Speaker.
Honourable David Carter.
Mr Speaker, I move that the Environment Canterbury Temporary Commissioners and Improved Water Management Amendment Bill be now read a first time. I nominate the Local Government and Environment Committee to consider the bill. At the appropriate time, I intend to move that the Environment Canterbury Temporary Commissioners and Improved Water Management Amendment Bill be considered by the Local Government and Environment Committee, and the committee present its final report to the House on or before 30 January 2013. Mr Speaker, the Canterbury region is of national significance. It has over 60% of New Zealand's freshwater resource. It has around 34% of New Zealand's hydro generation capacity, 70% of its generation storage, and accounts for in the order of 18% of the country's overall hydroelectric generation. The region has huge economic growth potential and is a key driver in making New Zealand a more productive and competitive economy. It is vital that a clear vision is developed for economic growth and sustainable management of the natural resources in the Canterbury region. To do this, the Canterbury region needs leadership that is effective in its planning and decision-making, leadership that works in a constructive and collaborative manner with councils, iwi and other key stakeholders, and leadership that inspires confidence throughout our Canterbury community. This bill provides for the continuation...
point of order, the Honourable Trevor Miller.
Mr Speaker, I understand that it's normal where there is an interest declared in a matter, and I understand that the Minister in charge of the bill is a major landowner and is affected by this legislation, for that declaration to happen at the beginning of the speech rather than later in it. So I've been listening carefully and I haven't heard him yet declare his interest in this particular legislation.
Well, it's, the Speaker has no knowledge of what anybody may have in terms of a pecuniary interest in any particular section. It's normally left to members to make those declarations. If they do apply, it's not up to the Speaker to judge whether a member has that kind of connection. Point of order.
Mr Speaker, with due respect, the interests of members are tabled in this House, and one of the reasons for that is for the speakers, when asked, to be in a position to make a ruling on these matters. So to say that, I mean, it is a bit of an, I know that it's a slight problem when there's a deputy in the chair, but I would have thought, sir, that this is a matter which should be the subject of an early, not a later declaration.
I'll stand by my comment earlier that this is for any member to make that declaration. Speakers do not have the pecuniary interest listed here at their desk.
As I was saying, this bill, Mr Speaker, provides for the continuation of Commissioners Environment Canterbury, or ECAN, over the next local body electoral cycle. It continues the limitation on the rights of appeals to points of law only to the High Court on RMA plans and policy statements, and provides for a ministerial review of government arrangements in the Canterbury region commencing March 2014. Mr Speaker, no government wants to roll over local democracy. My preference is always for local democracy to work effectively and efficiently. That is why we have set such a high benchmark for any such interventions. But when a council is ineffective, when a council loses the confidence of its community, including every one of its 10 mayors, and when a council puts at risk the region's prospects for economic growth, something had to be done. In 2009, the Government commissioned an independent report into the performance of ECAN. This report was commissioned after an extended period of serious poor performance, including an inability to deliver a clear strategic vision for the region, an inability to effectively manage and deliver a number of its core regulatory functions, and an inability to manage relationships with stakeholders in the region. This report found that the extent of the gap between the capability of ECAN and what was required of it to adequately manage freshwater issues were enormous and unprecedented. It said that the failures of ECANs required, and I quote, comprehensive and rapid intervention on the part of central government to protect and enhance both the regional and national well-being, close quote. So in 2010, Mr Speaker, the government intervened. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the 7 commissioners led by Dame Margaret Baisley for the outstanding job that they have done in the last 2.5 years. They have addressed ECAN's systematic problems and reformed its decision-making and conduct. In particular, I want to note their success in managing the Natural Resources Regional Plan to an operative stage and starting work on a second-generation land and water plan. I want to note that they have made significant progress in the implementation of the Canterbury Freshwater Management Strategy. They have significantly improved relationships with territorial authorities, iwi and other stakeholders, and they have dramatically improved compliance with statutory consent timelines under the RMA from 29% in 2007-08 to 92% in 2010-11. Mr Speaker, when the original Act was introduced in 2010, the responsible minister noted, I quote, "The explicit intent is for the commissioners to withdraw and to be replaced by elected representatives as soon as their task is achieved and the present systemic issues are resolved," close quote. While I did acknowledge the success of the commissioners, Mr Speaker, the fact is the job is not yet complete. Subsequent to the original legislation, Canterbury region has been hit by 4 devastating earthquake events. Those earthquakes have placed a nationwide focus on the importance of rebuilding Christchurch and on the wider Canterbury economy. They have brought into sharper focus the need for a competent and consistent approach to planning for vital infrastructure. Getting the infrastructure planning right is crucial for both the earthquake recovery and continued regional economic growth. To give Cantabrians the best chance of a successful recovery, the region needs strong and effective leadership. As Canterbury recovers from the earthquake, it is vital that the relationships between the agencies such as SERA, the Christchurch City Council, the Stronger Christchurch Infrastructure Rebuild Team are kept strong. Currently, those relationships are working effectively. To displace or interrupt these linkages would significantly affect Canterbury's recovery. Finally, the bill provides for a ministerial review of ECAN governance arrangements to take place in March 2014. It is important to transition the regional governance of Canterbury back to democracy. The inclusion of this review in the bill shows that this government is serious about providing the best long-term governance solution for the Canterbury region. Mr Speaker, this bill is about providing the Canterbury region with stable and effective governance arrangements desperately needed to assist the earthquake recovery and to provide a platform for future economic growth. I commend this bill to the House.
The question is that the motion
Mr.
be
Speaker.
agreed to. The Honourable Annette King.
Mr. Speaker, this bill